Am I the asshole for expecting tequila in the margaritas? Me 35 male and my wife 33 female got invited to a party at her coworker's house. I reluctantly went because the only person I would know was my wife. This is a relatively new job for her and wanted to be able to meet and mingle with her coworkers outside of work. Her understanding of it all was we didn't need to bring anything but ourselves. We show up and seems like a lively party. Pool with a bar area, music playing. They had a margarita machine and a ton of food. My wife got to talking so I excused myself to grab a drink. The margarita machine was calling my name so I filled my cup and grabbed my wife a margarita. I went back to my wife, I started drinking and realized that there wasn't any tequila in it. That's when I noticed no alcohol being around. The host was tending to the machine and I asked if there was any tequila. She looks at me confused and then says there is no tequila. I said, oh, I thought this was a party. She takes offense at that and says it is. Just a dry one. I awkwardly left it at that. I poured out my drink and grabbed some water. Host asks if there was something wrong with it. I said I wasn't interested in drinking straight sugar. I walked back to my wife, kept to myself and ate some food for the few hours we were there. It made it back to my wife that I was an asshole to the host, caused a minor argument between us.
Am I the asshole for ignoring my friend after she got rejected from every university she applied to? I, 20 female, am currently studying abroad, but before that, I stayed in my home country to complete an advanced diploma with a close friend, 20 female. We were in the same high school classes and always considered each other academic equals. I didn't move overseas earlier due to financial reasons and the uncertainty of the pandemic, so we decided to attend the same college. That's when things started to go downhill. We had one major group project at the end of each year. I was in a group with her and another student. Despite all being equally graded, I ended up doing almost everything. Coding, design, back-end, documentation, you name it. The stress got so bad I literally broke down in class multiple times. They barely did anything, and my friend offered no support. Things only got worse the following year when she got a boyfriend. From that point on, every weekend and school break was spent at his house. She completely checked out of our studies. At one point, she even asked me to send her the final project just so she could submit it for a grade. When she couldn't run it on her computer, she skipped class and told everyone she was sick, which was clearly just an excuse, since she hadn't worked on it at all. By the second project, she finally contributed a bit, but by then, the damage was done. When grades came out, I scored higher than her. Especially in math, I had kept the subject from high school. She dropped it. Instead of being happy for me, she mocked my math score and acted like it didn't matter. Fast forward to university applications. I eventually got into the uni I wanted, after facing rejections too. She decided to take a gap year to save money and work on her applications. I warned her that the process can be humbling and advised her to stay on top of deadlines and documents. She didn't listen. During her application interview, which required submitting documents in advance, she forgot to include her final transcript. Despite having 5 months to prepare, thankfully, the administration scanned it and added it for her. When rejections started rolling in from every university she applied to, she suddenly began blaming the administration, accusing one of the staff of ruining her application. When I pointed out that one rejection mentioned she lacked the required math qualifications, I got an 85%. She had a 65%, and that maybe that was the issue. She completely dismissed it. She refused to take any accountability and continued blaming everyone but herself. I'm emotionally drained, and I don't feel like I can be her friend anymore. I'm tired of the resentment and the disrespect.
Am I the asshole for cutting off my dad financially after finding out he has a secret second family and took out debt in my name? I, 26 female, have helped my dad, 57 male, on and off for years. Since I was 20, he said he's struggling, medical bills, mortgage, groceries. I paid off his car note once and even covered 2 months of his mortgage last year, so he wouldn't lose the house. He always made me feel like I was all he had. My mom passed when I was a teen, and we were close. Or I thought we were. Last month, a cousin let something slip. My dad has a whole other family, a girlfriend he's been with for over a decade and 2 kids, ages 10 and 6. I had no clue. He's been splitting his time between both homes, telling me he's working late or out of town. When I confronted him, he admitted it, said he didn't tell me because I judge him, and he wanted to protect my feelings. I was devastated, but it got worse. While reviewing my credit to apply for a loan, I found out he had taken out 2 credit cards in my name. One was maxed out. Total balance? Over $6,000. When I brought it up, he said he was going to pay it off eventually, and that it was for the family. I told him I was done. I reported the cards, froze my credit, and told him I'm not sending another dime. Now he's begging, saying the kids don't deserve to suffer, and his girlfriend is texting me too, saying I'm cruel and ripping their family apart. Extended family split. Some shocked, some saying I should forgive him because he's your dad. But I feel completely betrayed. He lied, stole, and used me financially.
Am I the asshole for calling animal control? I own 7 cats and volunteer at a shelter. All adopters are required to keep cats indoors. I live in Howard County, Maryland, where the law says pets must be confined to the owner's property. If they wander, residents can call animal control, which may issue warnings or citations. I live in a suburb with a 35 miles per hour main road where people often speed. There are raccoons, foxes, coyotes, hawks, and bears, plus many dogs, not all friendly. There's also risk of ticks, fleas, and disease. These are just a few reasons I keep my cats inside. Years ago, I found a friendly black cat in my yard. His tag said his name was Henry. I returned him to the listed address. The owner said he was an outdoor cat. I politely mentioned the dangers, including cars and predators, and recommended keeping him inside. They didn't say much. I saw Henry in my yard a few more times. If he looked healthy, I left him alone. But one time, his breathing was labor open mouth and strained. I tried returning him, but no one was home. A neighbor recognized him and promised to get him home. I left a note suggesting the owner seek vet care. This spring, Henry showed up on my deck with blood and pus coming from his eyes. I tried to help, but he was in pain and ran off. I hadn't heard from the owners in years, so I didn't know if he was getting vet care. I called animal control and sent the photo. They visited the home and later told me Henry has cancer, is being treated, and is shared by 3 households. They also confirmed I'm within my rights to report him if he's on my property. 4 months later, one of the owners showed up furious. She said my original note was presumptive and that I should have come to her directly before calling animal control. She brought up her mother's failing health, her federal job I'm a fed to, and quoted the Bible about what I should have done. She accused me of trying to make her life harder. I told her I was sorry she was under stress, but that I had no way of knowing Henry's situation. I acted out of concern, not spite. I thanked her for the conversation and closed the door.
Am I the asshole for not letting my mother-in-law come over after she destroyed my Millennium Falcon Lego set? I, 38 male, live with my wife, 37 female, and my 7-year-old son. I work as an engineer and my wife is a senior supervisor at a law firm. I have always loved Legos since I was a kid, and sure, it's kind of childish, but it makes me happy, so I've kept it as a consistent hobby throughout my adult life. In 2024 I spent months building the Millennium Falcon with my son. It's me and my son's pride and joy, and I often show guests who come over. My wife doesn't really get the hype, but doesn't mind either. In early March my wife's parents came over for a week to spend time with us. As I usually do with guests, I asked them if they would like to see my Lego collection. They agreed, and I showed both her father and mother my Millennium Falcon. Her father was amazed at the time it took to build my sizable collection, but her mother said that it was a waste of time and that I should focus on being a real man and move up the corporate ladder. I laughed it off because she's pretty old and I figured she just held very old-fashioned beliefs. We left the room and nobody really mentioned it for a few hours, but at dinner her mother said out of nowhere that I should give up on all this Lego nonsense and be a real man. We ignored this and moved on, but you could see in her expression that she was not happy. Nobody said anything about it for the rest of their stay, and all seemed well the morning they left. They left at 3 a.m. to catch a flight, and we waved them off. I went back to bed, but the next morning awoke to find my Millennium Falcon smashed to pieces with a note from my wife's mother calmly saying that this was for my own good so that I can be a real man and focus on what matters. It turns out she had quietly destroyed it in the night and left in the morning. Me and especially my son were very upset. I called her in the morning, but she refused to apologize. I said that until she apologized they would not be coming back again. My wife is not happy with my decision on this matter, and honestly I'm starting to wonder if I overreacted. Did I go overboard or am I in the right?